Welcome everyone, say welcome everyone. Yeah, I've gone with this mask this week to see which you guys prefer. I feel wearing this, but I don't know how it sounds in audio, so let me know. Now, it's delayed today, and by a few hours, but that is because yesterday some plans changed. You know, if you saw my community, you would know. But hey ho. Today we're going to be reading chapter 2 of Percy Jackson. I'm feeling better from last week, so I have more energy. Energy, G. I've got more energy. So I'll be reading this. Hopefully we actually get viewers this time, because last time we had viewers, just not when I was live. I did let you guys know via community and on social media, but I do not know who will be with us forever and ever. I don't know why I'm saying it like that, but hope someone joins. Let's hope someone joins. Now let's just get on to my Geek Odyssey. I'm just going to put a post on community. I'm not asking for that, bro. View channel. Community. I am currently live. Come see Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Read along chapter 2. Now, if you have any ideas for what I could do different and to spice it up, please let me know in the comment section below. Because that'll be greatly appreciated. It would be very much appreciated, actually. I am working on my next video, my next big video. There is one problem though, and that is I'm not the best with the intro. I think the script is one of the best scripts I've written. Yeah, and I think me speaking is quite good. I'm taking my time to edit, and I'm not even past intro bit because I'm trying to get it to the point. So bear with me on that one. I think I'll just move on and edit what I can, and then come back later. Chapter 2. The old ladies knit the socks of death. I was used to the occasional weird experience, but usually they were over quickly. This 24/7 hallucination was more than I could handle. For the rest of the school year, the entire camp seemed to be playing some kind of trick on me. The students acted as if they were completely and totally convinced that Miss Kerr, a perky blonde woman whom I'd never seen in my life until she got on our bus at the end of the field trip, had been our math teacher since Christmas. Every so often, I would spring Miss Dodd's reference on somebody just to see if I could trip them up, but they would stare at me like I was a psycho. It got to fool me. When I mentioned the name Miss Dodd's, he would hesitate, then claim she didn't exist, but I knew he was lying. Something was going on. Something had happened. Something had happened at the museum. I didn't have much time to think about it during the day, but at night, visions of Miss Dodd's with talon leathery wings would wake me, up in a cold sweat. The freak continued, which didn't help my mood. One night, a thunderstorm blew out the windows in my dorm room. A few days later, the biggest tornado ever spotted in the Hudson Valley touched down only 50 miles from Yancey Academy. One of the current events we studied in social studies class was the unusual number of small planes that had gone down in the Atlantic that year. I started feeling cranky and irritable. Most of the time, my grade slipped from D's to F's. I got into more fights with Nancy Bobofit and her friends. I was sent out into the hallway in almost every class. Finally, when our English teacher, Mr. Nicole, asked me for the millionth time why I was too lazy to study for the spelling test, I snapped. I called him an old snot. I wasn't even sure what... an old sot. I wasn't even sure what it meant, but it sounded good. The headmaster sent my mum a letter the following week, made official. I would not be invited back next year to Yancey Academy. Fine, I told myself, just fine. I was homesick. I wanted to be with my mum in our little apartment in the Upper East Side. Even if I had to go to public school, put up with my obnoxious stepfather and his stupid poker parties, and yet there were things I'd miss at Yancey. The view of the woods out from my dorm, the Hudson in the distance, the smell of pine trees. I'd miss Grover, who'd been a friend, even if he was a little strange. I worried how he'd spend the next year without me. I'd miss my Latin teacher too, Mr. Bruner's crazy tournament days, and his faith that I could do well. As exam week got closer, Latin was the only test I studied for. I hadn't done what Mr. Bruner had told me, the subject being life and death. I wasn't sure why, but I'd started to believe him. The evening before my final, I got so frustrated I threw the Cambridge Guide to Greek Mythology across my dorm. Words had started swimming off the page, circling my head. The letters doing 180s as if they were riding skateboards. There was no way I was going to remember the difference between Chiron and Chiron. Politices and politices? I don't know how to say those names, you know. And conjugating those Latin verbs. Forget it. I paced the room feeling like ants were crawling around inside my shirt. I remember Mr. Bruner's serious expression. 1,000-year-old eyes. I will only accept the best from you, Percy Jackson. I took a deep breath. A mythology book. I never asked a teacher for help before. Maybe if I asked Mr. Bruner, he could give me some pointers. At least I could apologise for the big fat F I was about to score on his exam. I didn't want to leave Yancey Academy with him thinking I hadn't tried. I walked downwards to the facility. Most of them were dark and empty, but Mr. Bruner's door was ajar. Light from his window stretching across the hallway floor. I was 3 steps from the door handle when I heard voices inside the office. Mr. Bruner asked a question. A voice that was definitely Grover said, "Worried about Percy, sir?" I froze. I'm not eavesdropper, but I dare you to try not to listening. Hear your best friend talking about you to an adult. This was definitely missed in the series. I itched closer. Alone, this Grover was saying. I mean, a kindly one in the school. Now that we know for sure, and they know too, we would only make matters worse by rushing him, Mr. Bruner said. We need the boy to mature more. But he may not have the time. A solstice deadline will have been resolved without him, Grover. Let him enjoy his ignorance while he still can. Sir, he saw her. His imagination, Mr. Bruner insisted. The mist over the students and staff will be enough to convince him of that. Sir, I can't fail my duties again. Grover's voice was choked with emotion. You know what that would mean? You haven't failed, Grover, Mr. Bruner said kindly. I should have seen her for what she was. Now let's just worry about keeping Percy alive until next autumn. And the mythology book dropped from my hand and hit the floor with a thud. Mr. Bruner went silent, my heart hammering. I picked up the book and backed down the hall. slid across the lightened glass of Mr. Brenner's office, and the shadow of something much taller than my wheelchair-bound teacher, holding something that looked suspiciously like an archer's bow. I opened the nearest door and slipped inside. A few seconds later, I heard a slow clop, 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 like muffled wood blocks. Then a sound like an animal snapping right outside my door. A large, dark shape paused in front of the glass, then moved on. A bead of sweat trickled down my neck. Somewhere in the hallway, Mr. Brenner spoke. "Nothing," he muttered. "My nerves haven't been right since the winter solstice." Mine neither. But I could have sworn. "Go back to the dorm," Mr. Brenner told him. "You have a long day of exams tomorrow." "Don't remind me." The lights went out, and Mr. Brenner's office. I waited in the dark for what seemed like forever. Finally, I slipped out into the hallway and made my way back to the dorm. Grover was lying on his bed, studying Latin exam. Notes like he had been that night. "Hey," he said bleary-eyed. "You're going to have to get ready for this test." "You're going to be ready for this test?" I didn't answer. "You look cool." "Just tired." I turned so he couldn't read my expression and started getting ready for bed. I didn't understand what I heard downstairs. I wanted to believe I'd imagined the whole thing, but one thing was clear. Grover and Mr. were talking about me behind my back. They thought I was in some kind of danger. The next afternoon, as I was leaving the 3-hour Latin exams, my eyes were swimming with the Greek and Roman names I'd misspelt. Mr. Brenner called me back inside. For a moment, I was worried he found out about my eavesdropping from the night before. But that didn't seem to be a problem. "Percy," he said, "don't be discouraged about leaving Yancey. It's for the best." His tone was kind, but his words still embarrassed me, even though he was speaking quietly. The kids finishing the test could hear. Nancy Boverfit smirked at me and made a sarcastic king motion with her lips. I mumbled, "Okay, sir." "I mean," Mr. Brenner wheeled his chair back and forth like he wasn't sure what to say. "This isn't the right place for you." It was only a matter of time. My arms stung. Here was my favourite teacher in front of the class telling me I couldn't handle it. After saying he believed in me all year, he was now telling me I was destined to get kicked out. "Right," I said, trembling. No, Mr. Brenner said. "Oh, confound it all. What I'm trying to say is, you're not normal, Percy Jackson. There's nothing to be." "Thanks," I blurted out. "Thanks a lot, sir, for reminding me." "Pity," but I was already gone. On the last day of term, I shoved my clothes into my suitcase. The other guys were joking around, talking about their vacation plans. One of them was going on a hiking trip to Switzerland. Another was cruising the Caribbean for a month. They were juvenile delinquents like me, but they were rich juvenile delinquents. The daddies were executives or ambassadors or celebrities. I was a nobody from a family of nobodies. They asked me what I'd doing this summer. I told them I was going back to the city. What I didn't tell them was that I'd have to get a summer job walking dogs or selling subscriptions and spend my free time worrying about where I'd go to school in autumn. "Oh," one of the guys said, "that's cool." They went back to their conversation as if I'd never existed. The only person I dreaded saying goodbye to was Grover, but as it turned out, I didn't have to. He'd booked a ticket to Manhattan on the same Greyhound as I had. So there we were together again, heading into the city. During the whole bus ride, Grover kept glancing nervously down the aisle, watching the other passengers. It occurred to me he'd always acted nervous and fidgety when we left Yancey, as if he expected something bad to happen. Before, I always assumed he was worried about getting teased, but there was nobody to tease him on the Greyhound. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. I said, "Looking for the kindly ones?" Grover nearly jumped out of his seat. What do you mean?" I confessed about eavesdropping on Mr. Brenner the night before the exam. Grover's eyes. "Much did you hear?" "Oh, not much. What's the summer solstice deadline?" He went, Percy, I was just worried for you. See, hallucinating about being a math teacher, Grover. And I was telling Mr. Brunner that maybe you were overstressed or something, because there was no such person as Miss Dodds. And Grover, you're really bad liars. His ears turned pink. From his shirt pocket, he fished out a grubby business card. Just take this, okay, in case you need me this summer. The card was a fancy script, which was murder on my dyslexic eyes, but I finally made out like Grover Underwood, Keeper, Half Hill, Long Island, New York. 800 009 0009. What's half? Don't out loud, he yelped. That's my summer address. My heart sank. Grover had a summer home. I'd never considered that Emily might be as rich as the other Yanceys. Okay, I said glumly. But like, if I want to come visit your mansion, he nodded. Or need me. Why would I need you? It came out harsher than I'd meant it to. Grover rushed right down to his Adam's apple. Look, the truth is I kind of have to protect you. I stared at him. All year long I'd gotten into fights keeping bullies away from him. I'd lost sleep worrying that he'd get beaten up next year without me. And here he was acting like he was the one who defended me. Grover, what exactly are you protecting me from? See, this interaction felt but like vision, not the Percy from the book I'd always had, but the Disney Plus series Percy and Grover. There was a huge grinding noise under our feet. Black smoke poured from the dashboards. The whole bus filled with the smell of rotten eggs. The driver cursed and limped the Greyhound over to the side of the highway. For a few minutes clanking around in the engine compartment, the driver announced we would all have to get off. Grover and I held outside with everyone else. We were on a stretch of country road. No place you'd notice if you didn't break down there. On our side of the highway there was nothing but maple trees and littering from passing cars. On the other side, across 4 lanes of asphalt shimmering with the afternoon heat, old-fashioned fruit stand. The stuff on sale looked really good. Heaping boxes of blood-red cherries and apples, walnuts and apricots, and jugs of cider in a clawfoot club full of ice. There was no customer, just 3 old ladies sitting in chairs in the shade of maple trees, knitting the biggest pair of socks I'd ever seen. I mean, these socks were the size of sweaters, but they were clearly socks. The old lady on the right knitted one of them, the lady on the left knitted the other, and the lady in the middle held an enormous basket of electric blue yarn. All 3 ladies looked ancient, with pale faces, wrinkled like fruit leather, silver hair tied back with white bandanas, bony arms sticking out of bleached cotton dresses. The weirdest thing was they seemed to be looking right at me. I looked over at Grover to say something about this and saw the blood had drained from his face, his nose twitching. Grover? I said. Hey man, tell me they aren't like you. They aren't, are they? Yeah, weird, huh? You think those socks would fit me? Not funny, Percy, not funny at all. The old lady in the middle took a huge pair of scissors, gold and silver, long bladed, like shears. I heard Grover catch his breath. We're getting on the bus, he told. Come on. What? It's 1,000 degrees in there. Come on. He prized open the door and climbed inside, but I stayed back. The other side... stayed back. But I stayed back. Across the road, the old ladies were still watching me. The middle one cut the yarn, and I swear I could hear the snip across 4 lanes of traffic. Her 2 friends balled up the electric blue socks, leaving me wondering who they could possibly be for. Scotch or Godzilla? At the rear of the bus, the driver wrenched a big chunk of smoking metal out of the engine compartment. The bus shuddered and the engine roared back to life. The passengers cheered. "Downright," yelled the driver. He slapped the bus with his hat. "Everybody back on board." Once we got going, I started feeling feverish as if I'd caught the flu. Grover didn't look much better. He was shivering and his teeth chattering. "Grover?" "Yeah?" "What aren't you not telling me?" He dabbed his forehead with the shift of his sleeve. "Percy, what did you see back at the fruit stand? You mean those old ladies?" "What is it about them, man? They're not like Miss Dodds, are they?" His expression was hard to read, but I got the feeling that the fruit stand ladies were something much, much worse than Miss Dodds. He said, "Just tell me what you saw." The middle one took out her scissors and she cut the yarn. He closed his eyes and made a gesture with his fingers that might have been crossing himself. But it wasn't. It was something else. Something almost older. He said, "You saw her snip the cord, yeah, sir?" But even as I said it, I knew it was a big deal. "This is not happening," Grover mumbled. He started chewing at his thumb. "I don't want this to be like the last time." "What last time?" "All the way 6th grade. They never get past 6th grade." "Grover," I said, because he was really starting to scare me. "What are you talking about?" "Let me walk you home from the bus station. Promise me?" This seemed like a strange request to me. I had promised he could. "Is this like a superstition or something?" I asked. No answer. "Grover, that snipping of the yard, does that mean somebody is going to die?" He looked at me mournfully, like he was already picking the kind of flowers he'd put by my coffin. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary, and all the other things in between, is the second chapter of Percy Jackson. Now tell me if it was clearer or better like this, or if you'd prefer me to go back to the Batman. Let me know in the comment section below. Hope you guys all enjoyed, and next week it will be back on the Saturday. We're experimenting with the times on when it's best for you guys and me, so let me know if you prefer Sundays. So far it's Saturdays, and what time. And bearing in mind I'm British time. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, but like, for example, right now it's like 37 minutes past 6. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I've been your host, on time mythverse, and this has been the Odyssey. Till next time.